My name is Tech Sergeant Groner, and today we're going to talk about how to quit chewing. Some of the things you think about when you're chewing tobacco and trying to quit is, I've tried before and I had a really hard time. What am I going to use to substitute? Well, what I tell people when you're trying to quit chewing tobacco is you have to do it in a four-step process. Number one, you have to make the decision to quit chewing. Number two, you have to set a quit date and choose a quit plan, right? Number three, you have to deal with your withdrawal symptoms. And number four, you have to stay quit, which is really the maintenance part of this process. Some of the things you may not know is that the tobacco company, the Smokeless Tobacco Company, advertises specifically to males between the ages of 11 and 25 years old. What's interesting about that is they do that by sponsoring concerts and racing events and tractor pulls and all these things, sports events, all these things where young youth boys would be. Not just boys chew, but most of the audience that we're going to be addressing is going to be male. There are some female chewers out there, that's okay, but basically the company tries to target those individuals. They actually provide over 40 plus flavors of different kinds. There's a huge range of different companies that sell tobacco chew. We're going to just focus on what's the way to quit, not who the companies are. So some of the things that you may not know is that there are products in the tobacco called carcinogenics. Carcinogenics are basically any substance that can cause cancer in living tissue. The three that I'm going to target here are nitrosamines, polynuclear aromatic hydrocarbons, and radioactive metallic compounds. Those are big words, so I'm going to kind of break them down. These things define. Nitrosamines are any chemical that's produced from nitrates and amines under certain extreme conditions. Some of the things that those are in are condoms, teethers, anything that's made of latex rubber. And it's an additive that's added to the process of making the tobacco. Polynuclear aromatic hydrocarbons, or PAHs, are byproducts of petroleum processing or combustion. Many of these compounds are highly carcinogenic at relatively low levels, and although they are relatively insoluble in water, they are still highly hazardous, and they add these to your product. Some of the sources of those are fossil fuels, incomplete combustion organic matter, incinerators, forest fires, and those types of things. That's where some of the products would be. And the other ones are radioactive metallic compounds. Some of those are formaldehyde and arsenic. And I think it's important to note that formaldehyde is used in embalming and arsenic is actually a poisonous compound. These compounds are found inside your chew. All the chew, no matter which brand it is, has something of those 3 or 4 different compounds in it. Because chewing tobacco is put between the cheek and the teeth, it is actually directly absorbed into the bloodstream, right there. It roughs up the gum a little bit, and that tobacco gets right into the bloodstream. Spit tobacco users have similar or even higher levels of addiction depending upon how much they're chewing than a smoker who might be smoking 2 packs a day. So there is the same addiction factors, the same withdrawal symptoms, the same lifestyle changes that go through with tobacco chewers and tobacco smokers. There's just a few different things that chewers have to specifically deal with. Manufacturers of some smokeless tobacco products have actually altered the pH in the product to make your stomach accept it better, have actually added flavors to it to make it taste better so that we don't, not like it. Most of them are packaged in some kind of a moist sachet or a starter kit for people who kind of need to try it and get used to it, and then they go into the rougher, looser leaf brands like Copenhagen. But as your tolerance increases, so does the severity of the nicotine and the tobacco in the actual product. So, okay, we are here because we've decided to quit chewing tobacco, right? So, like anything, you can only quit if you are the one who chooses to quit. Most of the time, people choose to quit because they find that they're spending a lot of money on this and they can't afford it because now they have to pay almost $4 a gallon for gas, right? Sometimes they quit because their doctor or their dentist says, hey, you know what, you don't quit chewing, you're going to have a problem, and and here's the current state of your teeth, but this is some idea of where it could be if you don't quit. Sometimes people don't really see the benefits to quitting, but when you look at the big picture, the benefits outweigh, the benefits to quitting definitely outweigh doing it. Some of the things you don't think about is it takes away your taste buds. You don't taste food the same. You don't smell things the same. You always have to deal with where you're going to spit this tobacco. You always have to deal with paying for it, and varieties of different things are in there. But whatever your list of reason is for wanting to quit, I want you to kind of have a list of reasons. Sometimes those lists are being healthier, or I don't want to spend any more money, or I can't chew or dip at school. Sometimes your family members don't like it. But whatever the reason is, it has to be your personal reason. It needs to be whatever you say your reason is for quitting. Setting a quit date and making a plan are definitely important factors to the quit process. 9 out of 10 times, if you can actually set a date within 7 days and successfully see yourself starting by weaning down a little bit between now, the day you start, and the day that you actually want to quit, wean down a little bit. You can actually increase your risks of quitting by 50%. Always make sure the quit day, though, is going to be early in the week and that you don't do it and attach to a weekend or some kind of an event that may be something that you would be out with your buddies. I always tell people don't try to quit more than one thing at a time. So chewing is the only thing you're going to quit right now. You're not actually going to quit, drinking beer or something else. Okay, so when we quit chewing tobacco, we go through withdrawal, right? Well, sometimes we go through withdrawal, but we don't really know what the symptoms are of withdrawal. Most of the time, the symptoms of withdrawal are you start feeling like angry. You start almost having toddler fits. You can actually have sweating or intestinal disorders like cramps or nausea because you're no longer getting that tobacco chew down your throat and it's going in your stomach like it's been doing for years, and now you're not doing that anymore. You can actually get headaches, and sometimes you can get cold symptoms. But the most important thing with this is identifying the day you want to quit, choosing a quit plan like this one, and then staying quit. So how do we go through all of these different steps? Well, I like to tell people to do them in baby steps. So step number 1 is to choose the day you want to quit. So let's say the day I want to quit is going to be Monday of next week. Okay, fine. So between now and Monday of next week, I'm going to chew a little bit less every single day. So if you're chewing and you're putting chew in both sides, I want you to put chew in one side. And then if you're swallowing your spit, I want you to spit out your spit. These things are important because it actually increases your chances of quitting when quit day comes. Also, I want you to begin to consider changing brands. Most of the time, if we're chewing Skull or Copenhagen and we switch over to Timberwolf, we don't like the way Timberwolf tastes, so we're less likely to chew Timberwolf. But if you know that you're only going to chew Timberwolf for a few days until you actually quit, it'll actually help you increase your chances of quitting. Also, make sure that you think about the locations that you chew, and then choose one of the 3 locations you choose the most to quit totally. So if you're chewing in your car, and that's one of the locations you choose to quit, you can't chew in your car, which means you can chew before you get in your car or when you get out of your car, but during your driving in the car, you actually don't chew tobacco. So when you get to your quit day, you're going to totally quit chewing tobacco, and you're going to then begin to replace that tobacco with something else, like gum or sunflower seeds or beef jerky, whatever you can to put in your mouth to replace the chew. It's important to do that because you're going to miss that. That's something that you did every day for a long period of time. It's something that you enjoy, and the oral fixation is a factor you have to deal with smoking and chewing, so you need to have a plan with that. Okay, so staying quit. Staying quit means that you're going to have to deal with this day to day. It's an absolute day-to-day thing. Whenever you're trying to quit tobacco, you go through nick fits, and you're going to have to rise above the nick fit and get through it. You need to find a substitute for smokeless tobacco. Make sure that that substitute is handy and nearby you all the time, at your desk, in your pocket, in your vehicle, around you where you have access to it, and you can do that instead. Some of the things that people deal with when they quit chewing tobacco is that they actually can begin smelling things again. They taste things, better. Sometimes we get nausea and cramping because we're used to swallowing the tobacco and now we're not doing it anymore. That goes away, but there is some difficulty associated with this. It's something you're trying to do and it's hard. But a lot of times people forget that the baby steps are what's important to keep you focused on not trying to do too much at once. You just do things in steps. So to reiterate, we reduce how much we chew. We reduce the locations we chew in, right? We change brands, and then on our quit day we totally quit and substitute it with something else. Does anybody have any questions on how to quit chewing tobacco?
You mentioned that my signs and symptoms might be that I would have cold symptoms.
Yes.
Were you referring to I would be having body temperature changes?
No, I was referring to like upper respiratory things that
Okay.
happen when you quit tobacco. Sometimes you get an excess buildup of phlegm or, spit. You're spitting a lot more than usual, but those things go away.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
When I choose a medication to quit, how am I going to choose between them?
Okay. When you're choosing a medication to quit, now this is generally, most smokers successfully quit using a patch better than they quit using a pill. The patch, because they're so used to a constant feed of tobacco, that the patch actually makes them successfully quit better on the wean down approach. The problems with the patch are that they don't always work for people. So there are pills out there. So you have the nicotine patches, you have the Zyban tablets, you have the Chantix tablets, you have the commit lozenges, and the nicotine gum. But basically you can divide everything up in two categories. You have nicotine replacement therapy and non-nicotine replacement therapy. So the patches, the gum, the commit lozenges, and the electronic cigarettes are all nicotine replacement therapy. Those products often work well for people who are chewers because you do get a physical nicotine every day and we just wean you down. But for people who have tried the patch and it doesn't work, sometimes the other things like the Chantix and the Zyban work a little better because it takes away your desire and your joy you get from the tobacco.
So,
And as a counselor, we would kind of look at you and determine how you're doing and what medications you're on before I'd be able to provide you a total answer.
okay. How should I discontinue, when I'm done with medication, how should I discontinue that use? Gradually, immediately?
Well, the medication itself is on the patches, for example, are on a 6-week process. It's a wean down process, and when you're done with that 6 weeks, you're just going to stop and you're going to get rid of them. You're going to always remember to throw them away in a location where pets can't get into it, right? With the tablets, those are on a dosage regimen where you're actually going to run out of them, and you're just not going to get any more. Chantix and Zyban, you can actually quit cold turkey without it being any kind of side effects to that. Those medications are engineered to quit after a certain period of time.
So those Zyban and Chantix don't have any nicotine in them? They
No.
just have a chemical that acts kind of like masks itself as nicotine?
Yes, what happens is the Chantix and the Zyban both of them actually kind of make you not want to smoke. The Zyban, we don't know exactly how it does that, but the Chantix actually has a nicotine blocker in there that blocks the receptor site that gets the nicotine. Zyban itself is an antidepressant type medication that they found by accident that works well with people who want to stop smoking. Okay, anything else? Okay, well thank you for your time. Remember, just some final thoughts, that quitting tobacco is easier to do than you think. You have to stay on task and remember what your goals are. Focus on the positives of quitting and stick to it. Thank you.